What's up everybody, welcome to Bitcoin Predator, and we finally broke out and started the parabolic phase of Bitcoin. We're going to talk about this today as well as what we can expect for the rest of the year. We're going to talk about some on-chain data as well as what we're going to have for the economic calendar next week and the new indicator that I found out right here that is replacing my analysis from Fear and Greed Index. So without further ado, let's get started. So as you know, we are on the third year of the bull run of Bitcoin. On 2026 is expected to start the bear market. So here's what happened this last week. So after around a whole month of consolidation, pretty much tending to the downside, we finally broke out 113 level, reaching new all-time high, and now we are on a price discovery stage. We can confirm this is a parabolic phase because of the massive volume that we broke out from the previous all-time high. And according to the 60-day cycle theory, since we had the previous cycle low on June 22, now we are expecting the price to reach a new peak after July 22nd. And right after reaching this new peak, we are going to expect the next cycle low, which is going to happen at around August 20. As you remember, we have around 10% of margin for the 60-day cycle, so it can be 56 days after the last cycle or 66 days after the last cycle low. We also have the confluence of the RSI indicator, in which, according to the same 60-day cycle, we had the lowest point within the last 3 months. Now I expect the price to continue to go up as well as the RSI consolidate a little bit and then go back down, so we can have around the next 60-day cycle low, which is going to coincide with the around mid-August or late August. Now that begs the question, what can we expect for Bitcoin behavior until the end of this year? As you know, in this channel, I am extremely against price prediction. I think this is a big trap. You can also check more information on this video where I talk about how when you think about price prediction for Bitcoin, whatever tool you use, it is a huge trap. Nevertheless, we can expect is the price line will continue to go up until the upper threshold, as well as the momentum line continuing to the same direction on my Predator oscillator right here, and then we're gonna have the identification of the clear peak, which I think is gonna happen at the beginning of next year of 2026. And you can see from the oscillator that we still have a lot of room to go up yet. So I am expecting another push of the parabolic behavior for Bitcoin until the end of the year. And if you take a look at the third year of the bull run from the last cycle, we can make some really interesting conclusions about what's gonna happen next for Bitcoin. If you zoom out a little bit from the last year bull run between 2021 and 2022, here is what happened. We had a huge spike to the upside and then downtrend, another push to the upside, some consolidation, and then the last breath or the last parabolic push to the upside. And if you take that behavior, it is quite similar to what we had right now this year. You see a push to the upside, downtrend, consolidation on the downside, and then push to the upside again, some consolidation, and now we are on this last stage of the bull market. So I can clearly expect some major price discovery for Bitcoin. And just like that, alongside with the price discovery and new breakout and new all-time high, we already having some major inflows of ETFs. We are getting as much as we had on 2024 from the end of last year. And as you know, there is a limit to how much big institutions can acquire from over the counter. Eventually, they're gonna have to rely on the exchanges, and we can also confirm that from the exchange reserves. Last week, I remember that we had around 2.3 million of Bitcoin on the exchanges, and right now that number increased a little bit. That means that the exchanges are actually noticing that Bitcoin is becoming more and more scarce. So that's when the actual market makers, namely institutions, they start to acquire Bitcoin from other sources in order for them to have enough reserve and the price does not spike as much. But there is a limit for that. Eventually, the price will continue spiking just like it happened here. And it is not a coincidence. As soon as the price spiked, they acquire more Bitcoin so they can supply the demand for the currency. And I'm always telling you guys that I think that an extremely bad idea to trade during the weekend. Institutions do not trade on weekends. And you can see a huge liquidation formed on the upside as well on the downside. And when Bitcoin price reached 119,000 this Sunday, it liquidated around $37 million, maybe $35 million a little bit here, and already forming more liquidation from the downside. I expecting some aggressive move of the price below here before continuing to the upside. But remember, we are on a price discovery, so I'm not very sure how further down we are going to go next week. Now, for the third year of the last bull run, I expect the price to go parabolic, some consolidation, and continue to go parabolic eventually, but with minor pullbacks to the downside. And I'm testing this new tool in order to track retail activity with more accuracy, which is the FOMO Finder from Alpha Analysis. It is free, you can check on the website. And I think this tool is quite accurate because it combines the funding rate and future premiums to track market activity. So I think it is a little bit more accurate compared to the Fear and Greed Index. Right now we can see a balanced FOMO when it comes for Bitcoin, which is quite interesting. Previously on the last bull runs, we would see this spiking to the greed or FOMO, which is not happening yet. And I think that retail is pretty much still too much focused on AI, because this is not the first time that we heard about Bitcoin. So everyone is a little bit dormant about it compared to previous cycles. We also have the factor of ETFs, which somehow gathers retail interest through them. So pretty much retail investors can put their money into ETFs in which they are going to trade on over-the-counter and exchanges. So that can mess a little bit with the retail indicators for Bitcoin. Nevertheless, I think this means that we still have a lot of room to grow to the upside, and eventually, as Bitcoin continues to go higher and higher with more price discovery, retail will become more and more interest. And we just started for the NVRVZ score. There is a lot of room to cover until the score spikes above the 7 level. Based on the S&P 500, we can see that the markets are still optimistic and trending upside. And quite interesting, since my last video, the USD has not reached this bottom, but yet Bitcoin has already started to go parabolic. Everyone is starting to have some good expectations that we might have some rate cuts still this year, and I believe that's the biggest driver for the price discovery. So based on the rate cuts probability, everyone is starting to get more confident of rate cuts in September, around 59%. And when we talk about rate cuts probability, Fed and Powell, I want to talk about this release that we have seen circulating around the internet. And I might be wrong, but I have the feeling this is completely bullshit. Because when you take a closer look at the document, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. I'm encouraged by reports that Jerome Powell is considering resigning. I think this will be the right direction for America and the economy will boom. Will boom. Who on earth, coming from the government, Fed, or anyone on professional terms, will release a note with such a hyped vocabulary? Will boom. Nobody talks like this. So I'm sorry, if you believe in this, I don't think this is true. I think this is completely BS, and we are going to know for sure next week. And when we talk about next week, there are two major events that I think we should pay close attention to. Core CPI is the one, and jobless claims. If the core CPI also reflects the trueflation, which is currently going down, this is going to be bullish for the market. Jobless claims, if we do not have more jobless claims, it means the economy is doing good. But if we have more people filling for jobs, this might actually be bullish for Bitcoin, because it means that the Fed is holding the rates and it might be compromising the economy. So let's see how the next initial jobless claims is going to be.